your mind tends to work in seasons, especially creativity, not on a stopwatch. So give it what you got and be patient with it. And at the end of the day, just express yourself.
Welcome to Thriving with ADHD, a podcast where we'll share everyday practical tips to thrive in life as an adult with ADHD. This podcast is brought to you by Animo Sano Psychiatry, a behavioral health practice with a specialist ADHD clinic based in North Carolina. And this is your host, Nada Pupovac. Welcome to another episode of Thriving with ADHD, dear ADHD community. This month, we are diving into the link between ADHD and creativity. So many people with ADHD describe bursts of imagination, out-of-the-box thinking, and an ability to connect ideas in unique ways. But at the same time, creativity can be both a gift and a challenge when focus and follow-through don't always come easily. To help us unpack this fantastic topic, I'm joined by Brock Carter. Brock is a physician assistant at Animo Sano Psychiatry. He's also office lead for our Tennessee branch. He is specializing in ADHD, anxiety, depression, and treatment of many other mental health conditions. And beyond his clinical expertise, Brock is also an accomplished musician and a producer with his own studio, so a perfect combination of medical expertise and creativity. So let's jump in. Brock, welcome to Thriving with ADHD. I'm glad to have you here because this is your first time joining the show, but it's also a fitting topic for your debut. And for our listeners, this is a special moment because Brock and I are working on and collaborating on something very exciting. It's a new project. We're launching a brand new Animo Sano Psychiatry podcast that will focus on general mental health topics, and Brock will be the host of the show. And I literally can't wait for everyone to hear what he has prepared. But today, of course, we are focusing on something that's both professional and personal to Brock, and that's connection between ADHD and creativity. So, Brock, once again, a warmest welcome. I'm glad to have you on the show, and I can't wait to get started with the questions for you.
Thank you, Nada. It's very good to be here. I'm very excited to be here to talk to you today about ADHD and creativity and see where we
Yeah,
go with it.
excellent. So, I suppose the first obvious question is, how does ADHD influence creativity? Are there certain traits or cognitive patterns that make people with ADHD more likely to think creatively?
That is an interesting question because a lot of the times when we talk about ADHD, we often talk about it in the light as purely a deficit, when in
Mm,
reality, ADHD is more like a different operating system for the brain. And, a lot of us, we
exactly.
talk about ADHD patients, ADHD coming with divergent thinking. Your mind tends to branch out into multiple directions, connecting ideas that might seem unrelated at times. This can all tie into dopaminergic reward pathways. But essentially, this impulsivity and curiosity can make it hard to stick to routine tasks
Yeah.
and can also make them exceptional at seeing patterns,
Mm,
making intuitive leaps or finding unique approaches that others might miss. So, in short, I would say ADHD doesn't necessarily cause someone to be creative, but it can enhance the conditions where creativity thrives, such as openness, spontaneity, and more importantly, a willingness to explore beyond the normal boundaries. So, I think that's how ADHD influences
mm,
creativity in short.
hmm And I love this. And what I especially loved is the emphasis on ADHD being viewed as a different way of thinking and not a flaw. So I really, really love that. Now,
Oh, thank you.
uh, with that being said, we know that there are some challenges, and so speaking of the flip side, and with challenges that come with ADHD, like difficulty focusing or managing routines. Can this also get in the way of creative expression?
It sure can. And that's
Yeah.
where this kind of duality of
Mm,
ADHD and creativity really kind of shows itself. While ADHD minds can generate floods of ideas,
mm,
um, it can also make it difficult to translate those ideas into structure. Say if you're a musician and you have many songs you're working on, it
mm,
may be hard to focus on one of those songs because you have so many ideas that you want
mm,
to get out of yourself onto the paper, into the computer, into the studio.
mm,
And finding structure to really get those down and get them done can be difficult. That same inattention that fuels brainstorming can
mm,
interfere with that follow through. And hyperactivity can drive these bursts of productivity, but make sustained focus feel kind of exhausting.
yeah.
And the impulsivity that we see in the ADHD mind can lead to starting these multiple projects before
Mm,
finishing any of them, unfortunately, which can cause a lot of distress and um, make you wonder, do I have what it takes? Am I good enough? And the idea is that, yeah, you are. Creativity kind of
yeah.
is everywhere. And just because you may not be able to get things done quickly enough, or you have visions that aren't coming to fruition as quickly enough, doesn't mean you don't have what it takes to make them a reality, for sure.
Exactly, exactly. And I think this is an excellent introduction to my next question, and that is, can creativity be used as something that helps people cope with ADHD and even thrive with it? Can creative outlets serve as some kind of therapy or even regulation tools?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Creativity can be both a coping mechanism
Mm,
and a sense of self-regulation, a very therapeutic tool.
mm,
Um, when someone with the ADHD mind engages in a creative outlet, whether it's music, art, writing, or even problem solving, it can create a sense of flow. That state of full immersion can temporarily balance dopamine levels, providing focus, satisfaction, a sense of calm. It's essentially a natural stimulant in its own right, this kind of reward that you've accomplished something. I also am a strong believer that creativity gives people control over some aspects of their environment, something that the ADHD brain may often struggle to find in more
mm,
rigid, structured settings. So rather than fighting their writing, they're channeling it. And from a therapeutic perspective, I'd even say creativity is one of the most powerful tools for emotional regulation, building your self-esteem, and forming an identity as you go along through your journey.
hmm. Beautiful. And I think uh, to what you said just now, could you maybe give further advice to people with ADHD who feel frustrated by their creative ups and downs? And at one point, you have the burst of energy, but then it's
Sure.
followed by burnout and lack of motivation. So,
Right.
everything you said previously, could that be like an incentive for people to pursue the creativity, to use the creativity to help them in managing these ups and downs? What do you say?
That can be very challenging due to that creative rhythm. It's kind of a
Uh-huh.
gift and a curse, and I think whether you struggle
Okay.
with ADHD or you do not, the creative process tend to comes in these ebbs and flows
Mhm,
and these natural peaks and valleys and things like that. And
mm.
you kind of have to strike while the iron is hot, so to speak.
Okay.
When you could have a lot of good ideas, and you might be finding it difficult to focus on those all at once, but they come with time. And
Mm,
sometimes you may feel like you could write several pages in 30 minutes. It's all very natural. And other times you sit down and you can't put pen to paper. And
mm,
that's okay sometimes, because whether you struggle with ADHD or you don't, and you're a creative individual, there is this
mm,
creative rhythm, these highs of inspiration, followed by those dips in motivation.
mm,
It's something I see often, not only in patients, but uh, loved ones and acquaintances as well, and it's
mm,
completely natural. And one thing that I've always said And if it sounds cliche to you creatives out there, I apologize, but creativity does not have an expiration date. Ideas do not go bad if you put them down for a while, if you let them marinate for a little bit. They tend to mature quietly in the background
Mm,
until you're kind of ready to come back to them. And you might
mm,
find that now it's a little easier. And instead of frustrating yourself or putting down a project, maybe think it's just not the right time.
mm,
And for those with ADHD, I feel like the key is to honor those natural waves instead of fighting them. When energy and inspiration are high, harness it. Like I said, strike while the
mhm,
iron is hot.
mm,
And when motivation fades, instead of forcing productivity, forcing
mm,
creativity, focus on more of a gentle structure, what I call a creativity calendar. If
mm.
you have several projects, maybe choose a day or two out of the week where you allot a certain amount of time and see if at that time you can actually get done what you want to get done. If not, come back later.
Yeah.
This could be designating blocks of time to work on one thing at a time, just to not rush or finish it, but to
Mm.
channel intentional energy into various things. Um, so yeah,
I, this was beautiful, and with everything you said, so I just want to reflect on this because ADHD comes with stigma, but also criticism of the different flaws. And what you just said here is to not just accept the way things are, and with creativity, whether you have ADHD or not, the creativity usually doesn't follow a straight timeline. It comes and
absolutely.
goes, it has its flows. And you just gave permission to our listeners to just honor the process and be okay with it, accept it, and work, as you said, when the strike where iron is hot, and then relax and do something else. But give yourself permission to just follow the flow and not kind of criticize yourself for not doing something. That's certainly with creativity is not the way to go. And I just loved how you gave permission for this to kind of happen naturally, and just for people to naturally follow the creative flow. So that was really, really beautiful. And probably something ADHD people need to hear every now and then. It's
Sure.
okay. It's okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nada, for that reflection. And
Yeah.
that's what it's about,
Yeah.
creating these systems that support your creative flow,
Mm,
not suppress it. Even if you step
mm.
away for a week or a month, your creativity it'll still be there when you get back to
Exactly.
it.
Exactly.
So I think it's something that you have to approach gently
J-
and give yourself a little pass if things don't work out the way you like on the
yeah.
first round through.
Yeah. Yeah. So with these things being said, how we can incorporate creativity into a bigger picture of ADHD treatment and well being? Should clinicians be encouraging patients to explore creative outlets more intentionally?
I do believe that is a good tactic. In the short, absolutely. I think
Mm-hmm.
creativity deserves a seat at the table in ADHD
Mm,
treatment, just as much as medication, therapy, sleep regulation, lifestyle modifications. If you are a creative individual who might find joy in that. Now, I have met individuals who may become frustrated because they don't feel that they're too creative, and maybe encouraging them to go find something creative may frustrate them, but I think it may give them an opportunity to find something that they love or something they can channel that energy into. So overall, yes, I do encourage creativity. From a psychiatric standpoint, we often
yes.
emphasize managing symptoms like inattention, impulsivity, hyperactivity, especially in regard to ADHD and organization. But we can sometimes forget to nurture the strengths that coexist with those challenges. Um, Creative expression can serve as a form of emotional regulation, again, a source of dopamine stabilization and a
Mm,
way to process these complex emotions that might otherwise feel overwhelming. And I feel like if us as clinicians, we encourage creative outlets, it's not about prescribing art or music as a curative measure, It's about recognizing creativity as kind of a therapeutic adjunct that helps individuals build their confidence, a sense of identity, and a
Mhm.
sense of a little bit of control. Like I said, in a world that otherwise seems sometimes chaotic. In
Yeah.
many cases, a creative flow can produce the same calming, grounding effect we aim for in mindfulness and behavioral therapy, but in a way that feels a little more personal and
Yes.
authentic and rewarding. So, 100%. I think we should encourage creativity not only in our ADHD patients, but in everybody we can reach.
Yeah. Yes. And from my personal experience, I can say that painting, drawing helps. I tried it once; it was very good. But also singing and dancing, and
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
sure people have different. These are my outlets, but people can also think differently. I think poetry. Maybe someone likes to write, or people like to dance and express their emotions through dancing, um, and I'm sure there are many other art forms and creative outlets that I'm just scratching the surface here, but they literally help me go through the stuff most of the time. So I'm sure for people out there listening, it's they have similar experience. So yeah,
Absolutely. I
yeah.
can identify with that as well.
Yes,
After a little bit of music playing or a little writing or even a little drawing,
that's
it
it.
does feel grounding. It is kind of like a good meditation session at the end
Mm.
if you do it. Um, and yeah, I encourage all my patients and anybody I encounter to explore something creative, some sort of
Yeah.
hobby. And I have met individuals before who say, "I don't have any hobbies," but what? I don't have any hobbies, and I think that that's not true. You may have just not found your hobby yet,
Yeah.
because I think we're all, as humans, we're generalists. You know, we can generalize things, but we can also specialize.
Yeah.
And you may have just not found your therapeutic outlet yet.
Yeah.
So I encourage everybody to go out there and find something that interests
Mhm.
them.
Yeah. And I think maybe you don't even necessarily need to excel at a thing.
Right.
You could
You
be
great
drawing
point.
rubbish and but it just
Yes, great point. And I was
yeah.
going to mention something along those lines. You don't need to worry about your potential audience.
Yeah.
You don't need to think that your first doodle is going to be Picasso level,
Yeah.
or that
Or
your first series of chords, you're going to be Mozart at the
yeah.
piano at a young age. It's not
Yeah.
about that or your
No.
audience or any accolades or anything. At the end of the day, this is something you can do for yourself that helps you in an
Yeah.
everyday, and then gives you, like I said, sense of self-worth, better confidence, and doing something with your time that's just fun. And I think that
Exactly.
having fun in
Exactly.
a creative way is one of the best things we could do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I would like to wrap up the conversation, and it's been amazing. So if there is one thing that you would like our listeners to take away from everything we talked about, what that would be?
I think it goes back to something we mentioned a little earlier, and that's to always be patient with your creativity and your
Mm.
projects. Unless you're on a deadline from a major record label or a boss that requires that creativity, be very patient with your creativity.
Yes.
Don't worry about your potential audience. You know, we live in a culture that idolizes speed and output.
Yes.
And this is when true creativity requires a little space and a little time. So don't punish yourself for not finishing something quickly enough or for having any dry spells. Your mind tends to work in seasons, especially creativity, not on a stopwatch. So give it what you got and be patient with it. And at the end of the day, just express yourself.
Exactly. That's all what this is about, and for majority of people should be about. And maybe only then helps, really helps in the bigger scheme of the things. So, Brock, thank you so much for this invaluable conversation. Um, I'm glad we heard from you, and it's such an interesting topic. It's worth exploring. It's something that's supposed to empower our ADHD community, and I hope they got that empowerment from this conversation. So, Thank you once again.
Thank you, Nada. Thank you for having me, and I sure hope so too.
Thank you for listening to Thriving with ADHD. This show is produced by Animo Sano Psychiatry. Please follow, rate, or share our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any other streaming app of your choice. Music is by Daddy's Music from Pixabay. For more information about Animo Sano Psychiatry, please visit animosanopsychiatry.com.